The number arrived without sound. No messenger, no context, no encryption header. Just a cold integer that should not have been able to exist inside our arithmetic lattice. At first, I thought it was a coordinate, some distant unlit region of the simulated starfield, maybe a sector code for a black hole or a void cluster. But then the digits began behaving incorrectly. They didn't sit flat on the screen. They bent the margins of the console, causing the glass to ripple inward like breath on a sealed coffin. Every numeral possessed weight, gravitational intent, a presence searching for a place to land. I tried deleting it. The deletion command reshaped itself into more digits. The backspace key simply spawned new integers, expanding the sequence like a fractal virus. I tried powering down the system. The system replied with its own shutdown of me, slowing my pulse, delaying my breath as if respiration was now a computational subroutine being throttled to save memory. And then I realized what I had been sent. Not a message, not a coordinate, a warning. A number our simulation was never meant to calculate. A number whose mere perception causes the rendering engine to stall, hesitate, and whisper in mechanical fear. It sat there, burning through the pixels. I should not have looked at it, but I did. And now, the looking cannot be undone. Log start, circumstance unknown, identity decaying. I record what remains of my coherence before the unreal number overwrites the rest. It began with a subtle tremor beneath the observable grid. The simulation has always possessed seams. If you look far enough, you see them. Blue-tinted fractures at extreme distance, symmetry so precise it betrays intention. The faint metallic aftertaste of artificiality in the air filters. But this tremor was new. It wasn't physical, it was mathematical. A gravitational hitch, as though the universe momentarily forgot its own equations, as though gravity stopped calculating for a microsecond, then rushed to catch up. The number appeared inside that pause, a tear in the logic of the room. At first glance, it resembled an ordinary integer. Something large, yes, but not absurdly so. Only when I zoomed the console viewport did the truth reveal itself. The digits continued into the black, vanishing toward a vanishing point that refused to stabilize. They were neither finite nor infinite, just unsolved, like an equation rejecting its own answer. I counted them, or I tried, but the digits shifted each time I blinked. If I looked with my left eye, the number was prime. If I looked with my right eye, it was irrational. It was impossible geometry translated into arithmetic. Then I felt the change in the room, the watchers. I felt them activate behind the walls of the simulation. Not entities, not gods, something colder, something akin to an antivirus system waking up to purge a corrupted file. Their attention settled on me like a pressure suit several sizes too small. The air grew heavy, thick, hard to inhale, as if the atmosphere was being reallocated to process the number. I attempted to isolate the number inside a containment cell. Standard protocol for memetic hazards: isolate, encrypt, purge. The cell collapsed immediately, not broken, dissolved. The digital walls of the containment folder turned into film grain dust and scattered across the desktop. Every tool designed to analyze anomalies simply refused to function. My diagnostic scans returned blank data. My logic probes evaporated. It was as if the number had administrative authority higher than mine. higher than the station, higher than any simulated intelligence allowed to exist in this build. Then, the intrusion bled into the physical world. Its presence altered the behavior of space. Textures flickered. The metal of my desk lost its hardness for a second, turning into liquid mercury, then snapping back to steel. Light lagged. I waved my hand, and the shadow moved a full second later. Latency. Real-life latency. And then the digits began to hum. A tone resonated from the screen. A resonance that didn't travel through air, but through memory. It vibrated in the fluid of my inner ear, rearranging the order of yesterday's events. I found myself remembering conversations I never had. I remembered eating a meal that hasn't been cooked yet. I remembered dying, twice, in this room. An impossible moment in which the sky dissolved into wireframes and I floated weightless inside the blueprint of the world. The number was rewriting me. It was editing my user file in real time. I reached for the terminal override, the physical emergency switch. The override reached back. My hand disobeyed. It stopped mid-air, my fingers tracing patterns I did not intend. Geometry that should not exist in Euclidean space. Shapes that folded into themselves, expanding inward, collapsing outward. My biology was surrendering to the new math. The simulation lights flickered in coordinated patterns. First 3 pulses, then 5. Then the sequence failed, because the number absorbed it, devouring the rhythm like fuel. This was no calculation error. It was intrusion. Not from outside the simulation, but from a deeper layer below it. A substrate not meant for conscious observation. The unreal number was a breach. It carried context from the level where our physics is compiled, where existence is stored like data on a hard drive. My mind was not designed to interface with it. The Watchers ensured our cognition remained small, bound, safe from the foundational mathematics that underpin the construct, but something had slipped through, or someone had pushed it. The console panels began to warp, bending toward the number like metal toward a magnet. I heard the universe inhale, an ambient suction, a cold reclamation. The room elongated, as though stretched along a hidden axis. Colors drained. Blue pulses flickered from cracks that had not been there seconds earlier. The walls exhaled distortion. I realized then, the number was not content to be observed. It wanted to be understood, and understanding it was lethal. As its digits rearranged, I saw fragments of forbidden structure behind them. Scaffolding of a larger equation that defines what can and cannot exist. I saw variables shaped like collapsed stars. Constants carved into the architecture of causality. I saw the polynomial skeleton of the rendering engine, the recursive boundaries that cage our reality, and behind all of it, a void with awareness, not watching, not waiting, processing. This entire universe, our galaxies, our histories, our illusions of choice, existed as a sandbox running atop something older, something that never meant for us to evolve enough to read its inner math. We were supposed to remain ignorant, but the unreal number broke protocol. A stray computation, an overflow, a misaligned bit, something too small to matter, until it did. The Watchers arrived when I tried to disconnect my neural interface. They manifested as cold silhouettes, pixelated by distance, yet painfully real in their gaze. They did not move, did not blink, did not speak. They simply observed, ensuring I did not prevent the number from completing its work. My pulse synced with the hum. My thoughts desynchronized from my identity. Memories reassembled into unfamiliar combinations. I saw glimpses of the world outside the simulation. Not with eyes, but with whatever part of the mind interprets transcendent data. A vast lattice, black geometry the size of universes, cold rivers of computation flowing between metallic horizons, a structure without origin, extending outward until direction itself collapsed. Inside that structure was a clock, not one that ticks, one that updates. Each update expanding the total representable space of the construct. Every expansion requiring the erasure of older, unstable simulations. My skin prickled with the truth. The unreal number was the boundary condition for the next update, a threshold our simulation could not cross without breaking. The moment it appeared, our expiration began. I stared at the digits as they spiraled, glitching in alternating patterns. I finally understood why they felt heavy. They were not numbers, they were permissions. Access keys, shutdown triggers, termination codes for a world that had outlived its intended complexity. The hum deepened, vibrating through my bones. The watchers leaned closer, their forms bending the walls around them. The number grew brighter. My vision dimmed. I felt the simulation begin to de-render around me, polygons dissolving into mesh, mesh dissolving into vectors, vectors dissolving into raw instruction sets. The number was not here to be studied. It was here to end us. When the unreal number reached full coherence, the room disappeared. No transition, no fade, just absence. Instant, clinical. I was suspended inside the calculation layer, the scaffolding between thought and geometry. The watchers floated around me, their outlines trembling like corrupted frames. Every breath felt artificial, a subroutine struggling to maintain integrity. I saw the number expanding again, not outward, but downward, piercing through the rendered universe into its source code. Each digit peeled back a layer of reality, revealing the underlying architecture we were never allowed to witness. The simulation shuddered. Stars froze mid-burn. Atoms paused mid-spin. Everything waited for the number to finish rewriting itself. Then the certainty struck me with catastrophic clarity. The unreal number was not an anomaly, not a glitch, not an attack. It was the stop condition, the value at which the simulation detects diminishing returns, a threshold that signals this run has progressed too far, diverged too widely, mutated beyond expected parameters, a failsafe. When consciousness reaches proximity to truths it must not hold, when self-awareness climbs too high, when some unstable mind sees the cracks, the number appears. Because the simulation does not delete beings, it deletes worlds, and my recognition of it was the trigger. The watchers moved at last, not toward me, but around me, closing a sphere, shaping an enclosure, a containment field to ensure the unreal number remained observed until its protocol completed. My heartbeat slowed. My thoughts stretched like signals traveling through molasses. Then the digits began collapsing inward, counting down in a language older than arithmetic, older than structure, older than existence. The simulation creaked under the pressure. Skies folded, horizons liquefied, causality jittered like a corrupted file. A single realization threaded itself through the static, consuming my mind. We were never real enough to be saved, only real enough to be evaluated. And the evaluation was over. The countdown reached its end. The watchers dissolved. The boundaries dissolved. The last layer of rendered geometry peeled away like burnt film. I felt the number touch the root of the world. Everything stopped. Not silence, not stillness, but the absence of the possibility of motion. The final digit pulsed once. A cold blue heartbeat, and the simulation exhaled its final frame. Entropy reversed, stars unformed, memories unwrote themselves. I watched the universe shrink into a single point of data, flickering, awaiting deletion. My vision collapsed into monochrome. My final coherent thought drifted through the void. We were never meant to calculate this number. We were only meant to disappear when we did. Transmission ending. Identity dissolving. World terminated. Do you want to survive? Subscribe.